For 50 years now, this titan of a comedy show has been running through your television screens. Of course, we can only be talking about the one and only Saturday Night Live. In October of 2024, we got the Saturday Night Live biopic, which showcased these comedy legends in their truest and earliest forms before they grew into the comedy heroes that we know and love today. So today, we're going to go ahead and we're going to take a look at the Saturday Night Live biopic, the characters that they portrayed, and see how well they stack up to the real thing. We're going to judge them on their looks, we're going to judge them on their sound, and we're going to judge them on their overall action. But first, we need ice, more ice, bourbon, this coffee liqueur, orange stuff, maple syrup, bitters, fat ice, smoldering pour. Oh my God, that's so much better. We call this the Live from New York. Speaking of which, live from New York, it's Saturday night! All right, now as I mentioned, we're going to go ahead and grade every actor and their performance based off the Saturday Night Live character that they were portraying. First, we're going to talk about Nicholas Braun portraying Andy Kaufman. Now, you might know Nicholas Braun from the hit TV show Succession, and for me, that's ultimately where my acting knowledge of him falls. As far as his portrayal of Andy Kaufman, when it comes to looks, Andy Kaufman has a very unique look, and unfortunately, he was pretty hard to capture in this. To me, it kind of falls short in the eyes. Andy Kaufman had these kind of big old cow eyes, whereas Nicholas Braun just doesn't. Andy Kaufman had one of the most distinct and unforgettable voices, and in this case, Nicholas Braun captures it spot on. He has that high-pitched kind of yes, yes, or yes. I can't do it, but he captures it very well. He's not used a whole lot in this movie, but the scenes that he is in, he takes over the screen, and he does a pretty damn good job. And for that, we're going to go ahead and give him a B-. Next on my list is going to be Billy Crystal, portrayed by Nicholas Podani. Now, this character is not seen a lot throughout the show, but ultimately the scenes that he is in, again, he does a very good job at portraying the character himself. Billy Crystal has a pretty distinct look, and once again, I feel like we missed the mark with this character. Now, the hair was good, the hair was similar, but outside of that, the facial, I would have known it was Billy Crystal if it wasn't for the sound. He had the perfect cadence, the perfect rhythm, and he sounded exactly like Billy Crystal in this, and I thought he did a fantastic job mimicking what would sound like Mr. Saturday Night Live, the city slicker himself. He was very kind of bubbly, and his character wasn't seen a whole lot, so it's kind of tough to give him a very fair ranking. And because I only have to go off a certain set of movies when it comes to Billy Crystal, in this one, we're going to go ahead and we're going to keep this ranking a C. Next on this list is going to be Gilda Radner, who was played by Ella Hunt. Now, as far as the looks go, I thought this one was pretty spot on. She had the glasses on. If you see the side-by-side, you can definitely tell what she was going for in the look that she was trying to portray. I thought voice was good. I thought she definitely sounded like her. Now, the hard part is because Gilda Radner was such a unique comic in her own sense, and she did a lot of impersonations and a lot of different accents and a lot of different things. You didn't get all of that in this movie, so you kind of had to go based off her neutral tone. Her actions were a little crazy, were a little sporadic, were a little just kind of all over the place, which from what I can tell, the old SNL skits was a little bit like Gilda Radner himself. All in all, I thought this was a very good portrayal from what I can tell. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to give her a B+. Next on my list, you're not going to believe this, but it's Jim Henson, played by Nicholas Braun again. Yes, Nicholas Braun plays two characters in this movie, and I had to look that up multiple times just to confirm I was reading this correctly. He nails this one spot on. This is an absolute banger when it comes to looks. The side-by-side is spectacular. They did a great job with makeup and hair, just the overall flow of his beard and everything, and even the headbands and the costumes that he was wearing. Looks here was an absolute 10 out of 10 for me. Both cases, he did a great job just kind of impersonating the accent and just the overall tone, which is Jim Henson. You know, he did a lot of his speaking through his Muppets, and in this movie, he doesn't quite use the Muppets to the extent that you might think, but the actual man himself, he does a pretty good job sounding like him. Ultimately, I think I got the point of how he would be as a regular human being, just kind of walking amongst us as if he was normal. I think it was better than his Andy Kaufman, so for this one, he's getting an A-. Next on my list is going to be Garrett Morris, played by Lamorne Morris. Now, Lamorne Morris, you're going to know from things like New Girl. He played Winston Bishop for what felt like 10 years of that show, and he never disappointed. It's tough because Garrett Morris has kind of a specific look, and honestly, he looks a lot older. Lamorne Morris, he still looks very youthful and doesn't look like he's kind of been put through the ringer. Just look like they're kind of at a different age range when it comes to this portrayal. Honestly, it sounds like Garrett Morris has been smoking 4 packs of cigarettes a day, whereas Lamorne Morris sounds just a lot more youthful and upbeat and just doesn't sound like he's choking on a carburetor. Garrett Morris was a very gifted comedian and actor. I mean, he went to Juilliard and he was on Broadway and he was extremely talented, of no doubt, but I'm pretty sure he smoked more than a campfire. If you look at the old skits that Garrett Morris used to do, Lamorne Morris did a pretty good job mimicking him, and he's smoking the cigarette, he's doing the I'm gonna go get a shotgun bit, and it's pretty good, and honestly it's very funny. He portrays the character, in my opinion, pretty goddamn well. But because of the other things, ultimately this one's gonna fall a little lower on the grading scale. We're gonna give it a C+. Next is gonna be George fucking Carlin, played by Matthew fucking Rhys. And if you know anything about George Carlin, that fuck was appropriate. They hit the mark very well with the hair, the costume, the nose, the beard. But what they do is something very clever, and they give Matthew Rhys a pair of yellow sunglasses throughout the entire movie. Literally Superman that shit. Just threw a pair of glasses on, completely different person. He just says fuck 28 times. It's just fuck this, fuck this, fuck this. And it's hilarious. He's probably my favorite character throughout this entire movie. Matthew Rhys has kind of more of a higher pitch here, whereas George Carlin had a little bit of a raspier voice. He just had a very distinct sound to him. The overall acting and the actions I thought were absolutely spot on. He's very charismatic. He's very all over the place, just yelling. He's angry. He's like, fuck you, get that shit out of my face, you're terrible at your job, and just kind of a dick. But he made it very watchable and very entertaining, and for that, he gets a B+. Next is Dan Aykroyd, played by Dylan O'Brien. I only knew Dan Aykroyd from Ghostbusters and from Trading Places and The Great Outdoors and movies like that. But in his young SNL days, that is exactly what he looked like. Mustache and all. Dude could give rides on that thing for days. Now, Dan Aykroyd, to me, he still has a little bit of a bigger forehead, and I don't think he was as ripped and just overall sexy as Dylan O'Brien is. So there they kind of missed the mark. I think Dan Aykroyd has a very specific sounding voice. You can hear it, you can close your eyes, and you know exactly what he sounds like. I hear it in my dreams. I'm kidding. I don't dream of Dan Aykroyd. I dream of Bill Murray. Now, when it comes to the actions, I thought he was very purposeful, kind of like Dan Aykroyd, where he was just he was here and then he was here, and he was just very, like, his cadence was pretty raw, and it was hard, hard, hard. Reminded me of Zelensky in the movie Tommy Boy. Like, it's exactly what I was thinking, and I was hearing and seeing the whole time. So for that, I thought Dylan O'Brien did a very good job. But because of the specific looks and honestly the more specific voice sound, this one's going to fall a little bit lower in the grading scale, and he's going to get a C+. Next is a wild one, but we have John Belushi, played by Matt Wood. Now, if you're thinking to yourself, who the fuck is Matt Woods? I'm in the same boat you are. If you go look at his IMDb page, he has maybe like 7 acting credits. I'm not joking when I say that this guy is a hidden gem. This to me was one of the best performances in the entire movie. It was uncanny, his mannerisms, his facial expression, just his voice, his inflections, his body movement. He was John Belushi reincarnated here. He's kind of one of the main characters. He's the white whale that's in the room the whole time. Everyone wants to be around John. They want him to get him to sign the contract. He's the overall guy that they need to have. He is the pinnacle of what everyone wants to reach here. And everyone's they're a little bit afraid of him in this movie. And to me, there's reason for it. If he is anything in this movie like he was in real life behind the scenes, this dude was a force to be reckoned with. First, they have a beard on Matt Wood, and I thought, yeah, he looks like John Belushi, but I think they could have done better. But halfway through the movie, they shave Matt Wood, and I shit you not, I thought it was John Belushi, and they just were weekend at burning this dude. Some glasses on. So if you can hear the excitement in my voice, you know where my grade is going with this one. He gets an absolute fucking A. My favorite, and without a doubt, I think the best depiction of a character in this entire movie has got to be Chevy Chase, played by Corey Michael Smith. Now, Corey Michael Smith, I know as the Riddler in the Gotham series that played for 6 seasons on Hulu. And in that TV show, he's just such a nerd, and he's so uptight, and he just, the entire time before he actually becomes the true Riddler, is kind of a boring character. Cut to this depiction of Chevy Chase, he is nothing like that. He is sexy, he is cocky, he is the biggest dick swinger in the room, outside of maybe Milton Berle. But the instant he walked on the screen, he trips over a trash can, and he has this perfect one-liner. Jesus Christ. Sorry, tripped over my penis. And from there, you know exactly who he is. You know exactly who he's supposed to be, and there's no looking back. I absolutely couldn't take my eyes off how it just looked like a 25-year-old Chevy Chase. Corey Michael Smith, in my opinion, did nothing short of perfection when depicting this character. So in my opinion, once again, he is getting a perfect A. Let me know if there was a character that I missed that you guys would like to see a grading on, or if you guys thought one of my gradings was a little bit unfair. I still love Saturday Night Live. It's not quite what it used to be, but it's still very funny and I still enjoy it. In the new cast, they still pump out good material. So here's to hopefully another 50 more years. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and as always, hope you guys enjoyed the take. See you next time.